Hello everyone, it's Stopback King here, and let me tell you something about Roblox. Roblox obby games are an extremely common game on Roblox. Even Roblox has a template for them in the studio. Most of them that you'll see have rainbow-colored stages with a bunch of game passes littering it all over the place. But in the Stereotypical Obby, someone took the concept of the genre and made it into something that both tells a story and is equally terrifying. So join me as we try to decipher what occurs in this seemingly innocent game. Before I actually enter the gameplay, I just want to talk about the lobby itself. There's a shop, donations, and the one I wanted to talk about being credits. Here, the special thanks goes to Scott Cawthon, the creator of Five Nights at Freddy's, which is interesting for a later bit, but we'll get right into the game itself now. Beginning the game, there is an opening cutscene with the helper of the obby. They greet you and tell you not to wander off because we don't want you to get hurt. After that, they state to have fun. By not interacting at the final dialogue text with the continue button, we instead actually unlock a secret FNAF World style cutscene with Helper, where he tells you that you know why you're here. He begins to twitch. He tells us that we knew what we created and we knew the consequences of our actions, with us now being set on what we have to do, with Helper now using the word I once this cutscene ends, and afterwards, the game begins. Very easy is the first part of the obby, the very first stage, and there is nothing out of the ordinary. The helper is there telling you not to fall off, with the only peculiar one being on stage 5 where he states, "Careful when jumping, you don't want to end up trapped in the void." There's another red flag given that in the previous part of the stages he does mention that you don't want to plummet to your demise. This might imply that you can be trapped in the void beneath you without ever dying or resetting, but as of now, falling into the void will only lead to a reset on the stage you were on. On stage 10, the very easy stages end and easy begins. Easy no longer has helper beyond stage 10. The game puts you to the test, as it states, and there is nothing special to note here. Just 10 normal, easy stages. Upon reaching stage 20 is when the game itself seems to become distorted. Normal mode leads to the music becoming slower and a little unnerving. The screen now becomes black and white, but this is not the end. Nothing interesting beyond this happens on normal mode, which only leads us to have 10 more normal stages all the way till we reach difficult. Upon reaching stage 30, the game becomes extremely distorted. The contrast is boosted way up, as well as the song almost being unheard of by this point. You walk across platforms and what seems to be planks on buildings. The health regen here is slower, and you can barely see any facial features of yours. The only option you have is to keep moving. And once you're close to reach stage 40 spawn point, and when extreme begins, your avatar pops up, waving at you. It almost feels like it's inviting you to finally find out the truth, and of the extreme level. One thing I do want to mention real quick, this has no place in the actual script itself, but if you ever want to tab out at any point of the game, post-helper stages, the game will ask you why you tabbed out. Which, I'm going to be honest, terrified me when I first did this, and this was actually first encountered on difficult stages. So if you ever decide to tab out for recording a video or taking screenshots, just know that this will pop up. We're finally moving on to the final stage. The description of extreme is 3 dots. There is no description. And upon stepping on the spawn point of stage 40, we see houses. We enter several of them, and occasionally we may even encounter a strange spirit helper in the back, watching us, smiling. We continue to walk through the map. We walk through a house that has a fake floor, and it leads to a scene of rails crashing into a building or wall of some sort. This isn't the only image or imagery that this extreme stages use. Later on, we are seen walking into some store or office, exiting out the back and into the sewers. It's almost important to note the moon at this point is no longer the sun from earlier stages. Now it's replaced by an all-seeing eye, staring right at you during any point in the game, obscuring the moon. After going through the sewers, we reach rooftops and later see a bunch of odd models simply standing on car-shaped red zones. There are two sides, many on the side you enter and some guarding the other side you must progress through, with a barricade between them. Crossing the barricade, we enter a scene of more cars and a model on the floor, likely dead or injured as two people, or models, attempt to save them. Beyond the barricade, we enter a riot or some big gathering in the street or alleyway, with us leaving it and entering a jail cell. However, we don't stay in the jail cell for too long, as we carve the hole behind the cabinet, escaping into a bridge, which is broken the further we go. And finally, we make it to stage 49. There almost seems nothing to get to from stage 49 to 50, almost as if something is trying to stop us. But walking forward reveals the path, an invisible path to stage 50. And beyond it is a jumble of difficulty levels, as you would have entered a higher difficulty than extreme, but it likely hasn't been finished yet. We are told to turn back, and for now, turning back, trust me, I tried this, turning back does absolutely nothing, but the only choice is to step on stage 50. We do so, and we come back to the very beginning of the game, the very easy stage. Here, though, the helper has a wider smile and a jumble of words. We'll get into what the jumble of words mean later. Anyway, advancing all the way into stage 59, we are abruptly cut off with 7 helpers, all repeating the same message. This is no Obby. This is no Obby. This is no Obby. This is no Obby. They widen their smile as the game asks you, what have you done? You made this. Now you will pay. We enter a cutscene. We take off a VR helmet. In the footage, it might be dark, but there are words out there. We hear a noise, and we see the helper in a monstrous form come right up to us. And shocked, well, that doesn't last for long, as we are killed off, and we have achieved the bad ending. Before we get to the story explained, I want to talk a bit about how this game relates to FNAF and Amanda the Adventurer. Starting off with the FNAF connections, the premise is very similar to games all over the genre. The fact that hidden dialogue of Helper seems very reminiscent of FNAF World's secret dialogue of Fredbear shows where the inspiration of FNAF is impacting the game. The victims as well, who obviously are the helpers, and we'll get into that a little later, as well as some inspiration from FNAF 3, where we might be playing in the perspective of a William Afton kind of character, someone who actively did wrong, tried to avoid it, and got punished for it, with the consequences finally catching up to them. The monster design within the game itself also seems to be FNAF inspired, as the monster seems to be more close to FNAF 4's nightmare animatronics than anything else. It's possible that parts of the story are also similar due to the inspiration, but it's definitely up to debate. As for how Amanda the Adventurer fits in, the concept of the helper coming out in a monster form is close to how Amanda becomes a demon that kills you in the first ending of the game, which is the bad ending, which is also the same name for this ending. Also, how it comes from a seemingly harmless TV in Amanda the Adventurer, it comes from a TV show that gets more and more corrupted, similar to how the parts of the game become more and more corrupted and distorted over time. As well as the aspect between a game within a game is similar to the show within a game concept that Amanda the Adventurer has. But now, let's get into my personal story theory as to what I believe happens in this game. The story in the game was a little hard to decipher, and there are people who have made their own theories and their own findings on the Discord of the developers. I will be using some of their findings here. To begin, we must begin to before the game actually was created. Not Stereotypical Obby, the Roblox game, Stereotypical Obby, the in-game game in the Roblox game. It's really complicated. I'm just saying, the game within the game. That's the one we gotta go for here. This is before this began. We are the developer and creator of the game. We likely had a job in an office of some sort. Maybe stocking shelves, moving boxes or crates, or at least that was part of the company's business, with this job being our main source of revenue. Where we lived, there were many abandoned houses, falling apart at the seams. We explored them, and we also fell into them, as shown with the houses with the fake floor. All this exploring left us with a change, however. Some unknown event occurred, with our straight path, symbolized by the broken train tracks crashing into the wall, now being broken. A sign for things to come. We walk back into our office as always, but this time it's empty. Exiting through the back and walking, we find a strike or a riot of some sort, where the police are actively attempting to calm the situation down. Likely, the man who was on the floor may have been your boss or just some innocent bystander at the wrong moment at the wrong time, either dead or dying. This stranger was the first victim, with you escaping the scene, or at least trying to anyway. But it was no use. You were thrown in prison for murder. You didn't plan on staying long, however. You escaped through a wall leading to the sewage system, getting out on scene. You were on the bridge, likely walking as a fugitive to an unknown destination. Wherever you went, you ended up creating juxtaposed technologies, which is odd given the meaning of juxtaposition as being the fact that two things are being seen or placed close together with contrasting effect. Perhaps this is symbolizing the helper being the spirits that are, we'll get into that later, but basically the helper being the victims in this scenario, the people that are against you, and then obviously you being there, the fact that you are both so close together, but so different in every way. Whatever you may have been thinking about that created this name led you to this, but it may have been the fact that you now had a reason for the guy you murdered to be a fit into your game as the helper in the Stereotypical Obby. However, one wasn't enough, so you went off to kill 6 more people. The helpers are 7 total, which is how I got the number of 7 victims. And using some supernatural means, likely a deal with the devil or some form of demon, you implemented their souls into the game. You playtested for some reason, with us needing to delve into the game. The helper plays normally, up until it doesn't. The helper uses the letter I, as it is just one person who introduced to you, with the game going. This game is not normal, however, with it keeping some form of demon or entity trapped, a manifestation of the people you killed all in the game, slowly being tortured within the game, telling us to turn back from level 50, and even when we lose connection, as seen by the connection loss and eventual reconnection, it tells us to please stop. Ignoring them, we kept pressing on until we reached the truth. The first code from the Smiling Helpers translates into "We're still here, creator," basically confirming that we are the developers of this game. The next code states, "Why did you choose us?" As well as the other one, the next one, the third one, being that we were normal people, showing that we seemingly killed at random. And the final and last text simply stating, "We will not be at peace until we are free," though this one is notably misspelled. Some theorize that due to this purposeful misspelling, it's a kid, which only goes to show that if it is, then we did a William Afton. Though we can at least confirm that one of the victims is an adult, while the rest may vary. Once that is done, the game has a connection terminated. You leave the game and get killed from the monster or the entity that was unleashed from the game, finally ending your reign, with even the badge from getting the bad ending stated, and I quote, "The end. It's over." But are they truly at peace? Almost questioning that yes, the people, these souls have succeeded. Their torture is over. But were they truly at peace? Once again, being very similar to FNAF 3's bad ending. Despite getting rid of William Afton, they just couldn't rest. And then it ends with a restart to the lobby.
But hey, that's just a theory. A game theory.
Share yours in the comments, or my Discord server too. But now, let's conclude this video. In conclusion, this game is not what it seems. Making fun of it being a stereotypical obby while also genuinely being an intriguing experience that really has more than meets the eye. Trying to decipher it currently may lead to more questions than answers. but I hope that you enjoyed my current story theory. And when the good ending comes out, if there will be one, I'll come back and cover it. But till then, this is my current theory for what occurs in the game. Leave yours in the comments down below. Until then, I am Top Hat King, and thanks for watching.